So what we want to do is cultivate a capacity for kindness. So, close your eyes. Take a few moments to breathe in and breathe out. So what we want to do is cultivate a capacity for kindness. Alrighty. Ooh, we don't need that light, I think. Right? Nope. Does that look better? Now we can just go lights off. Okay, so chat, what do y'all think? Okay, so welcome to another Healthy Gamer GG stream. My name is Alok Kanoja. I'm a psychiatrist. Just a reminder that although I'm a psychiatrist, nothing we discuss today is intended to be taken as medical advice. Everything is for educational or entertainment purposes only. And this is now week 9, I think, of our group coaching stream. So we're going to go ahead and hop right in. Give me just a second. Let's check in. Let's see who's here today. Gonna need a pen. Let's see if I can find a pen. Chat. The notes. Go take notes. Okay, hold on, chat. We're gonna have to do chair stream real quick. I'll be right back. Okay, let's move right over to Discord and get started. Yo, y'all ready to go? Okay, let's do it. I am moving over, getting this going. Gonna turn this on. Gonna turn this on. Gotta change. Okay, there we go. Alrighty. How's everybody doing today? Oh, this looks weird.
Tired.
Tired?
Yeah.
I'm good, but been busy.
And what's keeping everyone busy? Is there
Life.
Is there a server problem here? It seems laggy to me. Oh,
Yeah, you're a bit laggy to me.
I'm laggy?
Mm.
Am I the laggy one? I think it may be me because okay, I don't know if we can do something. We'll see. We'll just see how it goes.
What if you're just lagging in real life?
Happens far too often.
That's what I call being really drunk. It's called leg lag. When your legs are lagging behind.
Okay, so shall we start with check-ins? And I know I sent a pretty long summary, but I completely forgot what was our did we have homework?
We did not.
Okay. So that explains why I don't remember it. But so why don't we just check in? So, let us know a little bit about how you're doing. And I think a couple of other things we can kind of think a little bit about. So we've talked a lot about, who we are and what we want from life. But I think we haven't talked so much about really the concrete stuff yet. And I think that was really kind of starting to emerge where people have these concerns, right? So like Ruby has a bunch of ideas and she's trying to think a little bit about what she wants to do. Kathy has mentioned to us before that she's ambitious and we haven't quite heard what that means or what she is looking to accomplish. So I'm wondering if y'all can weigh in a little bit about during your check-in, just, what's something that you want to accomplish? What's something that you need potentially help figuring out? And then we can maybe launch off from there. Does that sound okay? And then also, if y'all have any reflections from last week or anything that you've kind of noticed or changed over the last week, I think that could be useful too. So just let us know how you're doing. Any reflections from last week and any particular goals or ambitions that you have or want to talk about. And now we get to
I'll go first.
Ah, okay. Great.
Which I never do.
Yep.
But I'm doing it. Let's go. Okay, I'm stepping up. So last week was like super profound for me. I kind of like felt like I was in a daze for a good like 4 or 5 hours after just processing everything. It kind of, nobody ever, I guess what's the word, like stepped up for me like that before, and like I'm really grateful for everything. In fact, my parents were watching, and they were just like, "Holy shit," because they didn't know what was really gonna happen, and they were just like They were like, this kid needed this. So that was cool. I've been paying attention to the things I say to myself, even when I'm by myself, even when I'm not actually saying them out loud. And I guess in this last week, my mood's been a bit better overall. I mean, I still have these very depressive moments, which are, hi, I'm bipolar, so like that's gonna happen. But you know, those late at night, can't fix anything, shouldn't talk to anyone, really should just go to bed kind of holy smokes, this is the world sucks kind of moments. Those can happen. But even if somebody says something, you know, less than kind, even if it's a joke, in this last while, I haven't exactly been taking that to heart, and thinking about like my actual worth, and thinking like, maybe I can just take that joke, or maybe I can just let that like roll off my back, you know, be a duck. And I don't know if it's just like, I'm not saying, you know, last week was you snapping your fingers and saying I'm cured, but because that would definitely be the wrong way to look at it. But it certainly helped, and in the last 7 days, I gotta say that was a huge push, to a more positive space. The other thing I would say is, as far as ambitions go, I am looking for a way to finesse the soft skills I've gotten from all my years of streaming, which, by the way, today is 6 years of streaming for me. Yay. And so I am looking to finesse that into an actual like permanent position somewhere. Not that I want to like stop streaming or cut back on streaming or anything like that, but you know, get something substantial out of what I've built, and then if anything, take the pressure off of myself when I am streaming, so that I don't have to, you know, if somebody leaves my community, I don't have to be like, oh no, my life's in shambles, because that it's far easier to think about it in those terms when, you know, you're basing everything, not just your income, but like your performance day to day on your stream. So
did I catch that properly? That Metric for a moment there maybe invited us to appreciate him in his slightly sarcastic way?
Felt like it.
6 years of streaming. He's like, wow, hey, look, I did an accomplishment. Right? That was pretty cool. Thank you so much for sharing, Metric.
Thank you.
Shall I go? I see Zell's like, I can go if no one else is. So, you know, last week I was like, oh, I wish someone would help me with my OBS. I deleted my whole OBS on Saturday and started again and spent 3 days doing it. And then went live on Tuesday and it all broke. Because I have this, like, I'm a really good at ideas and I will learn how things work, but I will just miss like a minor detail about something. I don't know how I do it, but my amazing mods who have access to all my overlays and stuff fixed it. So someone did help me with my OBS and someone did help me like sort all my stuff out, and like I feel really good. I may have been a little bit hyperfixated for 3 days and not go to bed on Saturday night and then like stay up until early hours of the morning. But sometimes this is why I don't take medication for my ADHD, because when I was medicated, I didn't even have these moments of creativity and wanting to do anything. So it's kind of like take the rough with the smooth, like find the good places and understand, you know, the bad places and learn the best ways of dealing with it. So I actually kind of really enjoy my hyperfixations sometimes when I put them into the right thing. And I've got quite a good internal voice of telling me, Ruby, you've been looking at this thing for 3 hours and you're never going to do it. Like, why are you still looking at it? So yeah, I redid all my OBS, which I'm really happy about. And it's been a stressful week, but only because I've been doing things that I've kind of not been doing. And yeah, like today we did a Halloween stream, but like all of my stuff is still in storage, so I just pulled something literally out of the first box of stuff that I found that I own, and I own a lot of weird stuff. And made like a costume up and had a really good stream. And yeah, my goals for the future, like where I want to kind of go with everything, I think has just, yeah, been cemented in I want to continue streaming, but I also want to build something. I think sometimes social media can feel very, I think we spoke about it at the beginning of this whole session, like clickbait and authenticity and finding that balance. And I think finding that balance is really important to me right now. I don't really want to put like anything out unless I feel that it has that balance. So I'm not putting pressure on myself, and I'm still excited to make content, like I said last week, and got ideas, but also I can't do them all at once. Literally, I was like, hey, I'll do all my overlays, and then maybe I'll record a video, and then maybe I'll do this, and here there I was Monday, 3 days later, and I was just like, yeah, Ruby, time is a thing. You run out of it. Like, you can't do it all at once. So yeah, I'm pretty good though. Like, tired, been a bit stressed, but it all feels like it's that good stress. I don't feel sad or like, ugh, stressed, you know. So yeah, that's how I am.
Cool. Yeah, it's so interesting that we can be like stressed and productive and kind of feel good about it, or we can be stressed and not productive and feel bad about it. Like the stress is constant. It's just sometimes we're productive and sometimes we're not.
What was it? Eustress? Eustress? Is that what it is?
Yeah.
I can go next. Check in. So after last Thursday, I was still over at my parents' place. Over the weekend, I had to pack all my stuff at my old place to get ready for the move. It was a little stressful because for the new place, I have not spoken to anybody. Like, I haven't been interfacing with a person IRL. Everything's been online. So I was a little concerned that there may be hiccups during the move, like getting my keys, getting access into the building. That was all delivered online, and some of the documents were having technical issues, so they weren't going to give me access until that was completed. But they gave me access the day of at midnight, so that was okay. And then after I moved everything over, I hired some movers from Lug, this app in San Francisco area. After that, then I flew back to SoCal to attend my grandmother's funeral, where I had to deliver the eulogy right before it was over. And that was kind of stressful too, because of course, I had to deal with the move and then craft together a good eulogy for the service. But everyone liked it. They came up to me, they said that they enjoyed it. Even those who couldn't speak English, they're like, oh, I liked how you presented it. I was like, oh, thanks. That was really hard because that was my first with a very personal death. And I guess I did see her body in the hospital when she passed away last week. But to see it again in the casket before they closed it forever, because we were gonna get it sent off to be cremated, and there was like a whole ceremony where we were placing the flowers in her casket. After that, I really held together very well because my boyfriend's been super supportive. The family really came together, there were some issues beforehand, like, fights, again, like high tempers, a lot of emotions, but everyone really came together. We had a nice dinner after the funeral service. Just felt good to be with everybody. I saw every single relative from my family being present there. And then after that, I flew back to San Francisco to finish moving everything in, unpacking stuff, decorating, as well as catching up with work. I had a big incident at work. It's just part of the job. I had to take care of that. So I really didn't have much time to settle down. So I'm a little stressed out right now because I don't like mess. And then when I look at my kitchen, it's got all my stuff strewn out about it. So I'm like, after this, I'm gonna start setting that up. I actually set up my whole computer hour ago. I didn't have this at all. So I was just like, oh, I gotta put this all together because I have a meeting as well. So it's been really hectic, but everything is winding down. So I'm feeling much better about that. I'm very excited to do nothing and also play games. I realize I have not been playing I haven't played any video games since TwitchCon. So that was like October 6th for me. So I'm gonna try to stream later tonight if I can, but we'll see. Yeah, that's my update.
So, Kathy, let me ask you. I think we can all acknowledge that you've been through quite the roller coaster the last couple of weeks. Do you want to take? How do you want to participate today? Do you want to be a little bit? You want to kind of take it a little bit easy today, or do you want to really kind of dig into goals, ambitions? And by easy, I mean like we can have you asking questions as opposed to like really exploring your stuff. Like we can always kind of get around to you next week. I want to just acknowledge that I'm not sure where your energy level is, and it's like totally fine, right? Life happens. And last week, I think it was very helpful to all of us to hear kind of where you were, what you were looking for, so that we could try to help you in whatever way you need or don't need. So where are you this week?
We can do a deep dive. I might take some time to get my thoughts together because my brain's just kind of a little mush right now.
Yeah,
but
thank you.
Yeah, I'll be fine.
Okay.
Thanks for checking in.
Yeah. And if it's too much, we can always revisit next week. And this is a marathon, not a sprint. Okay. But mush is actually what we work best with.
All right. I will go. So for the check-in part of it, I think this last week has been a week of high highs, low lows. On the good front, so like my job search has been going well. I got an offer from a place, so that's pretty exciting. And then hopefully hear back from the other other companies I was talking to. So see what my options are. But at least I have one thing in a concrete offer form, so that's good. And then bad things, I guess, is like this last week, I felt like somebody who I was very close to. I'm keeping this vague, just because I don't want to like put like this is streamed and stuff, so I don't want to put pressure on that person. But like somebody who was close to me, I felt very betrayed by them by something that they did, and it kind of spiraled me down into this kind of like self-blame kind of situation. I realized I started writing out kind of like how I was feeling about it, and I think overall, and this relates to kind of my like overall goals and as a person, is that I'm kind of starting from ground zero again. I think in a little bit, like again, I know we talked a couple weeks ago about kind of like I'm somebody who kind of has to discover themselves a little bit more and put a little more work into figuring out what are the things that I really want to do. And so on that note, it was kind of like I kind of just feel like in general that in my relationships with people, I don't feel very appreciated. And I feel like some of that probably is a reflection on me. And so, but I don't know, maybe that's just reflexively, that's just how I feel, is that like I can't fix other people, so I want to fix myself. And so like it was just like this week I did a lot of kind of introspection on kind of like my relationships with other people and figuring out what could it be about me that I kind of do this to myself? Do I present myself in a way that I don't know, causes people to treat me in a certain way? Like it was just like one of those things where I'm just kind of re-examining everything yet again. So I guess yeah, I think just kind of in a perpetual state of discovering myself, thinking about who I am, and trying to figure myself out more. So that's kind of where I'm at.
Cool. So, Zal, congratulations for getting an offer.
Thank you.
I'm gonna just toss out a couple of potential things for us to talk about. One is I think it may be useful. So Metric mentioned that he's looking for potentially a job or may start looking for a job or something like that. And coincidentally, Zell just got an offer. So I'm wondering whether it may be useful to have a conversation around, okay, how do we approach this? What should we kind of be thinking about? Maybe help Metric understand a little bit if he doesn't know already, but we can try to understand what kind of job would you want? What are you looking for? Maybe we can ask Zal a little bit about what his job search process has been like. Maybe Kathy can kind of weigh in there too. Another thing that we could talk a little bit about is, thinking about content creation and what directions we kind of want to go there. How to balance potentially jobs with content creating and thinking about that sort of thing. I think another thing that we may be able to help Ruby with is to prioritize. Because she's got all these ideas and how can we help her organize? She's mentioned before that she has ADHD, and sometimes it seems like she's kind of at the whims of her brain in terms of what gets prioritized. So can we kind of support her a little bit there? And even if that's okay, like you can be very productive with ADHD and just follow your whims, but that's something that we may be able to explore or assist her with. And then a couple of other things that we can kind of think a little bit about is that I'm hearing from Zell that, he doesn't feel appreciated, and also that he's not sure if it's his fault or not. Right? Like, I don't know if y'all kind of got that vibe, but is that like, is this Zell? So is it his fault or not? And even if he thinks it's his fault, he's almost acknowledging that he has this bias in his head where he always blames himself because he can't control other people. And there may be some truth to the way that he interacts with people and the kinds of relationships he sets up. But how do we figure out whether to blame the other person or blame Zell? And so does that make sense to people? Like in a relationship, how do you figure out what's your fault and what you're responsible for and what amount should you change? And how much, like, where do you draw the line to where actually, like, I don't need to change this. This is something that someone else needs to change. And this is actually on them. And their behavior, I don't have to accept as a reflection of who I am. The other thing is that Kathy did mention that she's open to kind of talking a little bit about her ambitions and kind of doing a deeper dive. I would have a very slight preference to do that, at least for a little while, because I wonder if there's I wonder how we can understand the overlap between what other people are doing, so we can kind of like, she can benefit if we go in any one of these directions, whether it's relationships, work-life balance, or other stuff. And so we could also talk about relationships as well, because Zell has mentioned that. I think we've mentioned it a couple of times here or there. And so I'm curious, like, what do people would think would be a good use of our time? And by the way, when I say I have a slight preference, is that like teacher saying like, hey, we need to talk about this? Are y'all interpreting that way? Or do people feel comfortable going against that if I express a preference?
Yeah,
Fine
I'm
with
comfortable.
whichever.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm fine.
Okay, good.
I'm just laughing at your question because you're saying that I need help prioritizing, and then you're asking how we use our time, and I'm like, you're asking me.
Yes, you're correct. Yes.
I don't know.
Yep. Because Ruby, I imagine it's going to be easier for you to learn how to prioritize if you're helping me than if you're helping yourself.
Yeah, I'm always a lot better at helping other people.
Yep. So I'm asking for your help to prioritize. And then your brain is going to figure out how to do it, and then it'll carry over that skill to your own life.
I'm interested in Kathy if she's okay with like talking, because I feel like her, like you said, we haven't heard much about this ambition, and I think it may like cross over into Zell and Metric and their ambitions with jobs and work and stuff as well.
Yeah, that's fine. But I'm also worried about, worried's the right word. I'm concerned about Zell and how he's dealing with that personal fallout. So
I also feel like that might be a work life thing as well. Maybe
Yeah.
past professional contact that maybe. I don't know. I'm guessing.
I don't have a preference, so
To everyone else. I differ.
Okay, so let's figure. I think this may be easy for us to do actually. So let's start with the Zell. So Metric is concerned about your experience of, interpersonal challenges over the last week, and you've already expressed some concerns around privacy. So I think we've got kind of an easy in or out here, which is like, are you okay talking about the way that you relate to other people? We don't want to dig into names and stuff like that, but first, like, do you feel comfortable talking about this in some way?
yeah. I mean, yeah. I won't go into specifics of what happened last week, but I can talk just generically about my experiences and stuff. Yeah.
Okay.
That's totally fine.
So then what I'm going to propose is let's start with talking to Kathy for a little bit. I'm going to keep track of time. At around the half-hour mark, we'll kind of see where we are. And then we'll kind of acknowledge, like, okay, do we want to continue on this? Is this, like, useful if we continue kind of on this track? Or we can switch over to Zell. How does that sound? Okay. So would people prefer that I open things up with Kathy, or do one of y'all want to start?
You start. I'm being really decisive.
Yeah. Look at you. Learning to prioritize. Oh, my God.
friggin' nailed it.
Yeah. Okay. I love that. That's so great. I was like, wow. I didn't even notice. I was like, okay, let's go. All right. So, Kathy, you mentioned it was almost at the I want to say it was very close to the end of one of our streams, but you mentioned that like you've got ambitions, and you said it like fiercely. And that's what I sort of felt in that moment. I don't know if that's actually what you said. So I'm really curious. Like, tell me a little bit about, or tell us a little bit about, like, tell us about that. Like, that sounds so exciting. Like, what do you want to accomplish in life? Like, what do you?
Well, I guess my work experiences, I started very entry level. I worked, I don't know if I shared this, that I worked in retail, I worked in the food industry. I was a boba barista, so very low paying jobs for the most of it. And then how my career progressed was very exciting and rewarding. So I guess that to me is something that I want to continuously pursue, which other people recognize as ambition. But to me, I'm like, I can't be at entry level forever. I can't be doing the same thing for years and years. I need variety. I need challenge. I need to see what's going to be the next steps for me, which has its cons in a way because you're not going to always hit the next level. Your expectations may be high. I'm starting to feel that too because my previous company, I was getting promoted under a year. I just hit my 1 year mark at the company right now, and I am not promoted yet, but that's to be expected. I'm at a higher level than I was before, and as you progress through your career, it's gonna be harder to maneuver around. So I'm just ambitious because to me it's very exciting compared to where I came from before.
Can you tell us? That's wild, dude. First of all, that you went from, retail and boba barista to you work at. Are you comfortable with us talking specifically about where you work now?
Yeah.
And
think
you're
it-
at
yeah.
Activision Blizzard Microsoft.
Activision Blizzard King. The
Okay.
acquisition has not been finalized
I
yet.
see. Okay. And yeah, first of all, how did you do that? Like, can you tell us a little bit about your career trajectory and
Yeah, sure.
How does that happen?
I think working in customer service, working as a waitress, working in retail, having that experience talking to so many people, really, it's kind of like a portfolio in a way. You figure out how to talk to people, especially when you're selling things. You're starting to know how to pitch, how to kind of get win-win situations going. So yeah, just being in customer service helped me out a lot. It all really started when I was working at the Microsoft store when they had brick and mortar stores all over the country. There, they were selling hardware, software, so you had to really know how everything worked in order to, hit your metrics, really impress the managers. And then from there, I actually quit because I got bored. That's when I was in my very long-term relationship at the time, and we were pretty comfortable. His parents bought us a house and everything, and I was just working for fun. Honestly, I was like, okay, I should get job experience, right? Like, this is something that everyone should be doing, right? But yeah, after that relationship ended, it was kind of like, well, I really need to have something going on at my age. I need to have a career established. I gotta start saving up money for maybe if my family gets into any issues, like I could help pay for their bills and just paying for my own rent too and feeding myself basically. Sorry, I'm all over the place. So I was at the Microsoft store, I quit, and then it was very bad timing because that's when the pandemic hit. And I was like, all right, I'm just gonna start streaming full time again. I'm just gonna play StarCraft. I made enough to pay for my rent and my bills. However, I knew this was not going to be a long-term thing. So I was always looking for jobs, always applying to stuff. And I used my streaming experience in my interviews as well because I was applying to gaming jobs. So they're always asking about it. It's like, oh, what was that experience like? And, I was able to talk about the sponsorships I got, just I guess, insights from being able to I guess still talk to so many people because I have a lot of viewers come by and we're just talking about the games and stuff. Sorry, I'm so tired. I'm all over the place again.
No, so
But,
let me just
yeah.
can I jump in for a second? So first of all, I can see
Yeah, sure.
Metric really tuning in here. So and Kathy, I'm not. Can I share with you what I've heard so far? Because I'm not getting the
Sure.
sense that you're all over the place. So
Yeah.
so
I'm getting nervous as I'm talking about this. I'm like, oh, I don't really have a coherent.
I mean, so here's what I heard. So you were so you started out working simple retail customer service, boba barista kind of jobs. These are jobs that I think we would normally consider quote unquote dead end jobs. But it sounds like you actually really applied yourself. I'm hearing that you actually did hit metrics and targets when you were working at the Microsoft store. And that you left out a choice as opposed to poor performance and getting fired, right? So you were,
Yeah.
you started working maybe when you didn't really need to, but you were like, okay, maybe I should start doing this thing. And then you actually applied yourself, learned what you could, sort of got bored, kind of quit, went and streamed full time. Pandemic hit, needed to pay your bills. One thing I'm kind of confused about, it has to do with the relationships, because you said that you were in a long-term relationship, people bought you a house, but then you're paying rent. So I'm assuming that the relationship ended.
Yeah, it ended.
Okay. Right.
When I was still working at the store.
Okay. So that's, we don't need to get into that. I was just a little bit confused about the paying rent kind of thing.
Oh, yeah.
But that was really the only gap in the story, which was because we didn't ask you about your relationships though. So I think it's a reasonable gap to have. and then you were streaming full time, so you were getting some sponsorships and stuff like that, and started looking for jobs. And it seems like your streaming experience was pretty instrumental in terms of like how you were able to converse with people. And I'm also hearing that you had already developed a fair amount of like interpersonal skills, and you specifically used the word pitch, which I also imagine would have really helped you in terms of whatever interviews we're talking about. And that's kind of where the story is.
Yeah.
Does that sound like pretty
You
coherent to you?
did very Yes.
I thought you did a great job of explaining.
Thank you.
So yeah, tell us what happened. You're interviewing all around, and then what happens?
I'm interviewing all around. I brush up my LinkedIn. Minecraft reaches out to me, and I kill the interview. They offer me the job the very same day. So I start off as customer support in Minecraft. So it's basically like if you have any issues with your game, account billing, bug technical stuff, then I'm the one who's like reading through those emails one by one and responding to customers and players. Over time, I got promoted, and that was very interesting to me to see how that went, because first you were just doing tickets one by one. When I went to the next level, then I was doing more project-based work, seeing more bigger picture stuff. And then the next step after that was even like a bigger scope of everything. I became an incident manager, so I became more data driven. So it's like way bigger picture. Like it's like how many tickets are coming in this day? What's the majority of the issues about? Like what do we need to change about the game, or do I have to change processes, training people? So to me that was a very exciting journey, because I started off very entry level, just one task at a time. And it was very monotonous, because you're just kind of like, you're just writing the same thing, or it was just very single task focused. But yeah, as you can see, it just became bigger picture.
Can you help us understand how long? So you've talked about 2 promotions, right?
Yeah.
And you got this job during the pandemic, which was 2020.
Yes.
And
2020.
so how many promotions have you had in how many years?
I think it was tier 1 to tier 2, tier 2 to incident management. So 2, and then from incident manager to where I am right now. So that's not really a promotion. That was ABK actually sniping me, because I didn't even apply. They reached out to me.
Okay, so it's a lateral move for you.
Yeah, it's a lateral move.
And are you working in the same general capacity as you were in Minecraft?
Yeah, it's incident management, but on a larger scale as well.
So maybe even like a half step up. Is that
Maybe 3 steps up,
okay?
I'd say.
And so I'm kind of curious. So you're doing monotonous tasks and answering emails for Minecraft customer support. How did you get promoted? Like, what were the criteria? What's your understanding of like how you got promoted?
I was very present in, it was very interesting because we didn't have an office. They used to have an office with cubicles and everything before the pandemic. When that hit, everything became digital, which is where my streaming experience came into play, because I was very familiar with a lot of digital tools and suite, and like knowing how to like share my screen, for instance, or knowing how to articulate my thoughts and processes. So, sorry, I'm so tired. What was the question again?
No, I think
Blanked out.
how did you and yeah, so we can, if you want to try to do this later, because we know you've been flying back and forth and moving and stuff. But it's, so I was wondering how you ended up getting promoted with a really, really monotonous task. Because in my mind, I'm like, you know, if answering emails, like how do you distinguish yourself by answering emails? But what I'm really
So there's metrics for that.
and so you performed well on the metrics despite the fact that the task was very boring.
Yes, I was, even though I didn't have experience answering tickets or using the ticketing system, it's funny because I use a lot of my StarCraft experience in this case. I have a decent APM, and I feel like once I got the macros down, once I got the whole combinations, I was able to I was able to
Oh my
like hit the leaderboard. We had a leaderboard actually for how many tickets people did, and I was like, ever since I was hired, I was at number 1.
Oh my god. This is what happens when you put a gamer in a real job.
Yeah, there was actually a macro combo that is something that I used in StarCraft as well when I play co-op. It was like the same exact like finger pressing. I was like, that's funny.
I think that's brilliant, dude. Like, I think, right? So like, this is the thing. There are a lot of like noob jobs out there. And I think we sometimes underestimate how awesome like gaming experience or streaming experience, like, what, right? Because it's like kind of rote stuff and you can make a macro for it.
I'm actually thinking of like all my gaming experience that I could apply to a job like that and break it down into easier chunks.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
even
so-
streaming.
I was about to say I've been sat here watching Metric's mind explode.
Yeah.
Like,
no, I mean, so Metric, I can tell you, I worked with a lot of people in finance. You'd be great at an investment bank. Because investment banking is all about taking your junior people and chewing through them at a rate, you know, you just have to be careful, but sometimes you have to make sacrifices and you have to burn people out to close deals.
I was always wondering if
they're broken
Darkest Dungeon
husks.
was a good like HR management simulator.
Oh, yeah.
Kinda...
Darkest Dungeon is great for HR management. But okay, so that's really cool. Kathy, like, thank you so much for sharing that. So a couple other questions. And does anybody, I mean, I have a couple other questions that I was planning on kind of opening up it a little bit, but does anyone else have questions that they want to jump in and ask? Okay. So,
Sorry, I'd like to add one more thing to your previous question about how I stood out.
yeah.
So there were metrics, and also I had a lot of one-on-ones with my manager, right? So first, you know, you get to know them, and then afterwards, I realized I was doing pretty good because I had good metrics. So I wanted to share with her, hey, I'm ambitious. I really like working in the gaming industry. This is exciting to me. I'm really looking for the next steps. And I wasn't obnoxious about it. I wasn't like, hey, I want to be promoted. I was just like, oh, is there something else I can do to help out the team? What more can I do to kind of stand out? Do you need help with anything? So I think that was really helpful that I kept kind of pushing for it and reminding people, because people can't read your mind. Like, I think everyone knows that they want more money, they want to be promoted, but then you have to kind of spell it out for folks sometimes. Like, hey, these are the steps I'm taking. Look at my work. Where's my promotion? But in a nicer way.
No, I think that's a really, really, really great piece of advice, because I want you all to imagine for a moment that, you know, you are a manager with people handling customer support tickets that are the same emails that you're handling over and over and over again. And how many people are coming into your office and saying, hey, I want to do more. I want to help you out. I really enjoy my job. Right? Most people are like, ugh, it's customer support. And I think that's really important. Kathy, the question that I had is, so what I'm kind of noticing is that from a desire to rise, there's maybe like two things I'm detecting, and one I feel way more confident about, which is that you like bigger picture stuff and more challenge. So you really do apply yourself even for like rote, minute tasks, but that you seem to really enjoy or feel gratified by like adding stuff onto your skill set. It's almost like the StarCraft 2 campaign where it's like map 1, we've got like Marines and medics. Map 2, we're going to start having a factory. Map 3, we're going to add a starport. And I'm almost kind of noticing an appreciation on your part. So can you tell us a little bit about what you like about being promoted?
What I really liked is having challenges. I think inherently I just don't like if something's the status quo for quite some time. I think I would get bored. I saw that especially when I was working at the Microsoft store, when I had less ambition, because I was still in my relationship. I was dealing with I had other priorities at that time. But looking back, I realized I had promotional opportunities. I just didn't really take it. I was in the mindset, like even one of the managers had walked up to me and they're like, hey, what do you think about this position? And it was like the next one. And I was like, oh, sounds good. But I never followed up on it. I never pushed for it or anything like that. I think that may have accelerated my career towards a different path at the time. I really like where I am right now, so I'm not regretful
Yeah.
or anything, but yeah.
And so you like challenges, and so when you think about getting promoted, how much of this is about just like wanting to grow and be better, right? And how much of it is about really changing the kind of work you do?
I'm not sure if I understand that question.
So everyone wants to get promoted just to grow, right? We all want to grow over time. Like no one wants to be stagnant. Right. And when I kind of heard you kind of say, like, this is the first time that I've hit a year and I haven't been promoted yet. And then you kind of said, well, like, that's to be expected, though, because you can't get one promotion a year until, you know, you're president of the universe. Like, it just doesn't work like that. Like, at some point, you're going to slow down. So I heard you kind of acknowledge that. But I also thought I heard some degree of disappointment that you haven't continued progressing at your previous rate. Is that fair?
It's fair. I understand where it's coming from, but I think that's just how it is. As you progress in your career, it's just going to get slower. There's going to be less open positions at a more senior level. So at that point, it's kind of like you wait and see, or you start transferring to a different company. So I'm being a little realistic about it. Like I've known other people in the same roles for like years and years, so it's to be expected.
So in your current position, how much would you want more challenge, and how much do you want to get promoted just kind of for the sake of getting more promoted? Like, are you kind of, yeah, let's just start there.
Well, I'm not pushing it for it too hard because it's hard for me to visualize what's going to be the next step because I'm still figuring out, do I want to go down a technical route or do I want to go down more business oriented route? So I'm kind of at a crossroads there. So I'm very hesitant because I feel like I have to commit to a vertical.
Okay. So I'm hearing that you have an option for a class promotion and you're not sure which branch you want to go down.
Yeah. And if I want to go down that branch, it also takes a lot of self-teaching and maybe more schools. Like I have to probably go to business school for an MBA. So I was touring UC Berkeley. There's also the Wharton School here in San Francisco. But those are really expensive. They're like around $200,000. So it's like, do I want to be in debt? I'm like, I'm doing okay right now. Do I want to dig myself into this financial hole? So there's a lot of factors to consider.
So how are we going to help Kathy think through this stuff?
Ask questions, I guess, because like I think like honestly, it sounds like I mean every time I get to a crossroads, like I usually ask myself like questions about where my values are and stack ranking them, and that's where like maybe we can help, you know, by asking you questions about kind of like what things, because like right there you said, you know, you have it pretty good right now. Is digging at your stability worth potentially being able to invest in yourself into these vertical pillars that you were talking about? You know, like would you I guess really it comes down, it sounded like it came down to like, you know, do you prefer being stable and staying at where you're at for longer, or you know, throwing yourself down one of these pathways? Or maybe that's where we should start, is like what do these paths even represent, and like, you know, laying out those options.
I guess also like what are the less expensive upgrades that you could apply to your resume, like certificates and things like that, that like smaller courses, as opposed to going into an amount of debt that you might not pay off before you die, because that's always a thing, right? Like,
Yep, in
Yeah,
America.
I was really struggling to have an answer or a question because my first reaction is don't get in debt, don't give them all
Yeah.
the money, go like quit your job. Like literally I'm ambitious, but like the idea of what you're doing like is amazing. Like what you've done and achieved is amazing, but for me it scares me. So I'm finding it really interesting to listen to, and I think like your ambition is amazing, and I kind of can relate to it in a way, and I'm trying to find. So I might be a bit quiet while I figure this out.
Like the other day, my mom asked me, like, "Do you ever want to go back to school and like, do more?" And all I just thought was, I have $9,000 left on my student loans. And so many people can't say that. And the moment I go back, that's not $9,000 anymore. That's a lot more. And even it's Canadian, so it's not even as bad as American tuition. But like, that's only $9,000. It's not that bad. I can kill that. Like, I can make that go away. So that is, I don't know. It's just in this
Something
day
to
and age.
consider, sorry, is that I'll still be working. I won't be losing my job. They have
Oh, that's good.
part-time opportunities. It's just a
Yeah.
lot of money to put into business school.
Yeah, I also kind of jumping off of what Ruby said about kind of like just relating to your situation, because like when I was working at Riot, and I kind of had the option of like, I just concluded some major projects that we were working on over the year, and so before I took on a new project, I kind of came to this like final conclusion of like, would I prefer staying at Riot, potentially continuing my career there, or because at the time I was doing a lot of content creation stuff with like offline and stuff, and it seemed like off, and so like I came to this crossroads, and at the time I just kind of decided for myself that I think that content creation is this like nebulous thing, strike it while it's hot, and so I decided to make the gamble of just like throwing myself down one path, and so I don't know if that's helpful information, but like at the very least, I got my answers, and but yeah, I see like kind of how that relates to your situation, and I wonder if like you feel like, because in my case, like I felt like one thing is like something that I had to do now, which was content creation, and one thing that I could always do later, because like regardless, I already have my work experience. I can go back to the workforce whenever I want, but the content creation side for me was something that felt like I had to do now. So I wonder if you feel like there's like a time thing to attached to it, but I'm not. Yeah, I don't know.
I think content creation is not high on my priority. It's important to me. I do hope to come back to streaming more and doing something more with it. So that I don't think time is a factor. Yeah, I try not to pressure myself too much about it, because I think that could also lead to severe burnout, especially if I'm like, I have these expectations, these were set by me in the past, why am I not hitting it? But I also have to be kind of realistic. Like, I'm comfortable right now. However, there's like a lot of layoffs happening just across the industries because of the recessions. So it's just kind of like, okay, I also have to add value to myself, because, what if I do go to business school? Then that strengthens my resume, my experience. So that's another leading factor.
What
Yes.
happens to applications to business school when there are layoffs?
I'm sorry?
What happens to applications, number of applicants to business school when there are layoffs?
Less people?
Actually, more.
Oh, they're like, I need to learn more. Oh, yeah, you're right.
Or I
need to
lost my
improve
job,
skills.
might as well go back to school. So so this is fantastic. I'm hearing a lot of different stuff. I'm going to try to put some things into perspective, okay? So let's start with this. What are Kathy's conflicts that y'all can think of?
Stability, finance.
Okay, what does stability mean?
Well, stability sounds like a couple of things. So there's financial stability with not taking on debt to improve from an education standpoint. Stability also kind of in personal investment because it sounds like if Kathy went down like a vertical and found out it felt like the wrong choice, it feels like investment put into a wrong place, I guess. So there's like I don't know if that really works under stability, but that's something under consideration. Versus, yeah, again, like vertical mobility, which also sounds like it has something to do with stability again too, because more security in your job when you go higher as well. From what it sounds like. So
Okay. So I'm going to try to rephrase those a little bit, but I think, and y'all let me know. So the first question is it worth it to take on debt to have some kind of ultimately nebulous, but raise the skill ceiling on what Kathy is capable of, right? Does that kind of make sense? Like, so the conflict is, do I take on debt to position myself better in the future? But there's uncertainty there, which is kind of what I got from Zell using the phrase or word stability. Second thing is that she believes that at some point she may need to specialize. And Zell referred to this as stability as well, but the verticals. It's like, do I go more technical or do I go more business side? That's another decision she's got to make. And I wasn't quite sure, Zell, what you meant. Oh, maybe the third area of stability is just simply that the economy is changing. People are getting laid off. And thankfully, Kathy is not getting laid off. So just from a stability standpoint, like, is now a good time to just stay where she is and kind of ride things out a little bit? Do those sound fair, Kathy?
Yeah, they do.
And I think Metric and Ruby brought up other things that they were kind of like noticing or picking up on. Do y'all have anything else to add that maybe we need to help Kathy kind of organize and think through?
I kind of want to clarify something
Sure.
on what Metric said. I totally recognize the value of just teaching yourself. There's a lot of certs you can get online, especially if I want to go the technical route. There's a lot of courses and YouTube videos I can consult, and the same can be applied for business as well.
Right.
But I've been told that for business, the networking factor is very important, which is why I'm considering those two schools that I mentioned.
I got you.
So that's kind of ambiguous too. It's like, is the networking going to pay off? Are these people that I'm going to be friends with, my peers, are they going to be able to help provide support later on down the road? And also, I think I'm just too, compared to, because I went to an orientation session recently at Wharton, and I was talking to so many people, and I was like, is this right for me? What are you doing at your job? What are you learning about? And I was like, I think I'm too junior. I don't think I'm ready for this, because the financing was one of the topics that I brought up, and there was this guy. He's just like, yeah, I'm just here learning for fun and stuff. And I'm like, this thing has like a $200,000 price tag. He's just learning for fun, and then he's like, oh yeah, my company paid for the whole thing. And I was like, I want that. And then I looked him up later on. I was like, what job does he have? And he's like, VP at a finance company. I'm like, okay, well, I'm not VP, so that makes sense. My company will pay for some of the tuition, but they're probably not gonna do the whole thing just because I'm pretty junior, given how much time I've been here. So yeah, that's another thing to consider. I haven't really committed to anything. I'm just talking to a lot of people right now.
Okay. Thank you for adding that, Kathy. What did y'all
Yes.
hear?
I'm really like, the thing that my brain is really honing into is you don't really know what you want to do, and I can relate to it. Like making that decision and like what route you want to go down, and wondering whether if you invest your time in one, like, should you have gone for the other? Because I feel like the way you're talking about it, you like both routes right now, and that's kind of how it feels because you've talked about them kind of both equally. I don't feel, unless anyone else has picked up, that you've talked about one more. But yeah, like it's that decision of, it's not a who am I, but yeah, it's like, what am I gonna be? Like who am I? Who am I gonna be? Like where am I going? It's kind of like a putting an identity to yourself with your job, of what you, this label of like, what I'm picking up on in the business world from just what you said is like there's labels and like roles and VPs and like people that like this whole like hierarchy, and like you're in your mind you're like, where am I going in this hierarchy? Who am I? Where do I fit in?
Also, so if you went the business side, you'd be more people facing, right? I imagine. Like you'd be
Both roles would be people facing.
okay. Okay. That's good.
Where does that question come from, Metric?
Oh, my previous jobs were not people facing, and I'm very much a people person. And so when she was talking about like technical routes, all I thought was like, if you're more of a people person, like you're kind of concerned, like you're consigning yourself to a personal hell, because I've been that way. So
And so is Kathy a people person?
I imagine so, just on her ability to stream and talk to people. I mean, it doesn't mean that you're always on or that you're not an introvert or something like that. I mean, there's plenty of streamers who are introverts or, but I think most of us have a genuine capacity to have uh, really good exchanges as far as professional work goes. So, and then there are some people who don't mind just being on the back end, just filing away paperwork or writing up documents or whatever. And I've been there. I've done night jobs in that, and it's not for me. For some people, that's great, but for me, I just want it out. So that's kind of like where my brain goes. So when I see a streamer thinking like when they say technical, all my first concern is I still hope you're talking to people.
Yeah, I'll be talking to people.
I want to just also acknowledge time. So we're about 30 minutes in, just a touch over. How do people feel about continuing on this track and versus sort of switching over to talking about relationships?
I'm okay with talking about relationships as well. I think it'd be a good variety.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, how far along do you think we are here? Like, where are we in this stage of discussion with Kathy?
I still feel like we're at the kind of the beginning of it. Like there's just a lot of uncertainty that we would need to dive into, I think, with like, because I mean, it sounds like right now in the process of the decision making, like Kathy's still like info gathering, like laying out the land, figuring out what even does her choices even mean, I think. And so like, it feels like we're pretty early, question mark. But
Yeah, so I was kind of getting that vibe too, and I totally respect Kathy for sort of saying we can switch gears for the sake of variety and also not wanting to monopolize time, right? Because we talked about, well, Zell, like maybe we can talk about Zell's stuff today. I'm concerned that what we'll end up doing is having two half discussions, which is not worth having one whole discussion. And I'm wondering if we really focus in the next 20 to 30 minutes, if we can get somewhere kind of concrete with Kathy and also try to think a little bit about sort of developing a process to help people figure out like how to make a professional decision. And whether this can also help like Metric, for example, or even Zell kind of think a little bit about, okay, so he got an offer, he hasn't accepted it yet. Does he want to wait for more? Does he want to accept it? And so is there some way that we can sort of iron things out using Kathy's example And if y'all are down with that, then we can sort of almost develop a framework and then think about applying that framework to everybody else. Kathy, how do you feel about that?
If you don't like the idea of having two separate discussions, then yeah, we can talk more about career stuff and see how it applies to everybody.
Yeah, that would be my preference. Now that I'm really thinking about it, because I think we are pretty far here, but I do think that I agree with Zell that we're not really where we need to. Like, we've just figured stuff out, which is great because that's why we're here, right? So now we've understood. One thing that I feel really good about is, like, I feel like I understand Kathy in a way that I never had before.
You think so?
Yeah, what do y'all think?
Yeah, I'm learning.
What do we understand? Let's talk about Kathy for a second. What do we understand about Kathy that we didn't before?
That she really is ambitious. That she has big dreams for herself. Like, some people sometimes might just say, "Oh, I'm ambitious," and then it's like, where does it go? But yeah, I'm in admiration of your achievements.
We could measure her hat for Space Pope, and then it'll be there.
Anyone else sort of, like, what else do we know about Kathy now?
Super practical minded. I mean, it's just kind of funny how, like, you took this skill set from a completely different field of StarCraft and distilled it down to, like, how you can apply that to something else. I mean, it just means that, like, I feel like you have a really good mindset for problem solving and applying, tertiary skills to things, which it's just like an admirable skill. So that's really cool.
I feel like if there's a difference between Kathy and myself, it's that I make very emotional decisions, and she seems very, like, logical, practical, pragmatic. Whereas, like, I'm willing to let an opportunity pass me by just because my gut feels weird about it. Not to say that she doesn't have gut feelings about things, but she seems more measured, which probably attributes to her success.
Sure. Are there downsides to Kathy's perspective? What happens if we make pragmatic decisions all the time?
It doesn't accommodate for the human factor of like other people.
Right. So in what I'm hearing from Kathy, or what I'm hearing is that, so Ruby kind of picked this up, and I don't know that this is really 100% real, but that Kathy's got a lot of options. So she's so pragmatic, right? So she's like sorted through options. The problem is, how does she make a choice? The choice depends on values. Like, what's more important to her? And the problem with pragmatic thinking is that pragmatic thinking is like not really value oriented. Like, you can value pragmatism, but if you think about the decision to go to business school or not go to business school, you won't necessarily have a perfectly pragmatic answer. And at the end of the day, I think this is what we kind of need to do. So I'm going to screen share, okay? So let's think through this. So Kathy has a couple of strengths.
Oh, Kathy with a K.
Oh, thank you. So Kathy has a couple of strengths. One is, we know she's a people person. She's pragmatic. She is able to be creative with solutions. I don't know exactly how to put this into words, but like using StarCraft macros to like rise to the top of leaderboards in customer service. There's something cool there. Like she's like good at finding solutions, which is kind of interesting because she also says she likes challenges. And if you think about it, like Who likes challenges? Like, people don't like challenges. People like stuff to be easy, right? But Kathy actually rises to the challenge. In fact, when she doesn't get challenged, she gets bored. Now, what are some of the
I
things
could
that...
relate to.
Huh?
Like, that's the only thing I could relate to. Is getting bored. I need to be doing something.
Right? So what are some of the things that we think Kathy should watch out for, or parts of her that maybe we kind of know or don't know that like can kind of, that she needs to be careful about? Anyone have any ideas?
I might be.
I mean,
Okay.
oh, I was gonna
You
say
go.
just because I feel like Kathy has a lot of traits that I relate with, so I feel like probably along the lines of burnout slash just like yeah,
What causes her to burn out?
like lack of fulfillment, I guess.
Okay.
So, so what I
Potentially.
was gonna say. I was gonna say, where is her? If she gets so focused, like, where is the joy? That's the way I was thinking. Like, where's the, like, if you get so focused in on something, you missing the joy.
Okay. Kathy, what do you think about that?
I agree with the burnout, which is why I'm trying to be careful with my expectations. I don't know about the joy aspect because I really like working in this industry. I feel like I almost like gamified my career or just like my career journey because it's like, okay, I got these milestones to hit. This is how I get to the next level. But you know, life is not like a game. Like even if you hit those milestones, you might not get what you're aiming for. But in terms of joy, I really like what I'm doing. I'm helping out people. I'm making an impact. I'm working on a lot of like really cool games. And I see stuff about it that like my friends and social media is talking about it. And I'm like, this is really cool. Like I could be working in something that's a completely different industry and I can see where I would feel like very soulless because I'm not into it at all. But I was this took a while. I was very careful. Like what do I like? Do I even want to work with people or do I want to be like just more individualized? Okay, it seems like a lot of the things that I like doing involves people. I keep getting back into gaming. Initially, when I was like going through college ages ago, I was like, I'm not gonna get a job in the gaming industry. I need to do something else. But then I was like, you know, with my free time, I'm streaming. I'm not like volunteering. I'm going to esports stuff. Like, I think I really like gaming. I'm gonna see if I can find something in corporate. So I think that kind of accounts for the joy, because during my meetings with my boss, one of the first things he asked me, he's like, he's like, do you like going to work? Like, are you having fun and stuff? And I'm like, yeah, I like what I do. I really do.
Okay. So I
I
think
hope that kind of answers for that.
I think it answers a lot. So here's what I heard, and I think there's a part of this that's going to be kind of weird. So what I'm hearing is that Kathy enjoys her job. She's been very intentional with how she picked her career, and she actually has a lot of gratitude and enjoys a lot of the work that she does. Did y'all hear that? And
Coming from customer service.
And I think Zell and Ruby have sniffed out something that Kathy herself doesn't entirely understand, but I think she agrees with y'all as well. So I think what Ruby and Zell have sniffed out is, as Kathy said, she said one sentence that I thought was really important, which is that you can make kind of all the right decisions and still be unfulfilled. She hasn't quite gotten there yet because her decisions have helped her find fulfillment so far. Do y'all kind of get that? So like, here's time, here's fulfillment. And right now, Kathy's like this. Because here's Boba. Here's Microsoft Store. I don't know if I have the order right. You know, here's promotion number
Minecraft.
1. Oh, sorry. Okay, yeah, Minecraft. And then promotion. right? And then it sounded like there was a second, but then over here is
Second.
ABK. Okay. But I think she acknowledges as well, and this is exactly why we're going to do this, because y'all recognize that if she just makes pragmatic decisions the whole time, that she may end up like not entirely happy. And I think that's what Ruby and Zell are picking up. And Kathy even acknowledges that on some level. I think it isn't an issue quite yet. But this is exactly why we have these kinds of conversations, and we sort of pick up on this kind of stuff. Because she's kind of aware that this could happen at some point. Okay? So now let's think a little bit about, okay, what are the decisions that Kathy has to make? So question MBA, question technical or business. There's also a question of kind of like when, right? So timeline. I'm also hearing a little bit that Kathy feels, Kathy, do you think you're qualified to get into a competitive MBA program?
Yes, except for the standardized testing.
Okay, have you taken the
I'd have to
GMAT?
study. No, I haven't studied at all for it. I don't know what it looks like.
Okay. So we just got to add that.
So that's why I'm unsure about that one.
Okay. But you don't feel, you feel not inferior to the VP of in the finance industry kind of thing. Like you belong in the same group as him or her.
I do. I just don't have as much money.
Okay. So there's a financial consideration, right? So then there's also the financial consideration. So which one of these things do you think, like if we were to play a game where we like sort these, which one do you think she needs to figure out first?
Technical or business?
What do other people think?
I like timeline just because it lets you, I mean, based on how she's run her career so far, looking ahead to when and where to do these things seems like a really good idea.
Okay.
My brain went to financial consideration because it kind of feels like, again, I mean, I'm a pragmatic thinker too, so I think of financial consideration first because that way I know for like MBA, do I have the capital to, do that? And then technical or business also feels like, do they have a different financial outcome from being in technical or business side? And then timeline too. So like I don't know, every
So-
for me like the decisions, yeah.
Yeah. So this is the thing. So then let me ask you a question, Zell. Is the financial consideration determined by technical or business, or is technical or business determined by the financial consideration?
I guess technical or business might be determined by financial consideration because depending on the so I don't know the field, but like if one is much more lucrative than the other, then you could better justify your financial consideration that way.
Okay, Kathy, what do you think?
Which one has more priority?
Do you, yeah, which one do you think is like, do you think which one's like higher, which one's more important, the field that you work in or how much money you make? Like what you do on a day-to-day basis or how much money you make?
What you do on a day-to-day.
Okay. So I personally, I would put this as number one. Because I think ultimately what Kathy has demonstrated is that she's going to find a way to rise. So and this is exactly why we're kind of doing this kind of stuff. Do you have a sense, Kathy, of what the financial difference between the technical route or the business route is?
No, because at this point, I think it's more important what's more fitted for me, I guess.
Okay. So here's what I'm kind of seeing. So if we decide technical or business, And would you go get an MBA in either case?
I'm not sure.
Okay. So I'm going to just simplify things. MBA's over here. Certs are over here.
Okay.
Do y'all think that's pretty fair? And then this is some amount of money. This is, let's say, $3 signs. This also requires GMAT. And then maybe there's some amount of certs over here. But like, this is kind of how I'm viewing this problem. And so like, if Kathy decides that she wants to do technical, she doesn't even have to worry about the GMAT or the money. Does that make sense? So I think what's happening right now is we're getting all tangled up in financial consideration because it's a value of hers. She's thinking, okay, oh my God, MBAs are so expensive. But I haven't even heard a definitive answer about whether she needs to get an MBA in the first place. Does that make sense to people? Now, I'm applying my own system here, but y'all could reorder these however you want to. Kathy, what do you think?
No, that makes sense. I haven't really considered. To me, the money is. I feel like I can try to go for the paying for the cost of it, especially if I'm still having my job. I think that's really good that I'm able to do both or have the option to do both. But I don't know. Ever since I heard that guy saying his company paid for the whole thing, I was like, I want that too. I was just like, do I have to pay this much money? What if I just like wait a little bit and then maybe I can find myself in a opportunity where it can be all paid out? But
Sure. So
it's a crapshoot.
I think Kathy, that's an execution point. So this may be the kind of thing. So let's just talk a little bit about this. So when a company pays for your MBA, usually there's a contingency on that to continue to work there.
Yeah.
So this is also the kind of thing where like there are all kinds of action items which we're going to build out for you like in a minute. Okay? So there's like all kinds of stuff here where like, so now we have all these question marks, right? So this is a question mark. I'm going to use a checkbox. This is a question mark. And I'm going to use a different color here. Okay. So here's what we have to figure out. Like, we're going to help her make a decision, right?
Oh my God.
What?
Right now, we'll make a decision.
No, not yet. So the first thing is, so this is an issue of values. So we need to have a follow-up conversation with Kathy, and we need to ask her all kinds of questions. Like, if you go the technical route, what does that look like? What kind of challenges are you going to be solving? How excited are you about that? Does that make sense?
Yes.
And if you go the business route, what kind of work are you going to be doing? How excited are you? Like, we're going to ask her, okay, what did you enjoy about getting promoted? You know, and what I'm kind of envisioning is like, do you want to be, if you go the technical route, I think what she's going to do is she's going to go to a company and she's going to say, yeah, I want y'all to hire me because I can make macros for your customer support staff that will improve their efficiency by 20%. I see her smiling. Does that resonate with you?
No, it's just, I don't know. It's just funny.
What's funny about it?
Because we're like talking so business right now. I thought we were going to talk about streaming. It's just like.
Kathy, what do you care about more, your career or streaming?
My career.
Then that's what we're
I just didn't expect hearing that from you, I guess.
Yeah. We're here to help you. It's not about, oh my God, we're not talking about feelings. Like, yeah, we're going to talk about feelings, but we're going to talk about feelings because they help you make your decisions. Yeah. It's not just like process emotions. This is like, let's understand what you care about and value in life and then help you make the decisions that you need to make. We can't make the decision for you. So we're going to ask her questions about technical stuff. We're also going to ask her, if you go the business route and you get an MBA, what kind of job do you envision you're going to have? And what would you want to do? Can you do like project management, for example? Or do you need technical certifications or whatever? Next thing that we need to figure out is once we understand her values, then we need to understand, okay, like if you go the technical route, what kind of certifications can you get? And then we're going to ask her another question, which is, can you find any data about what kind of like ROI or return on investment a particular certification has? Right? So she's like, oh, I can get like, let's say an HR management certification. And then can you get any data on like what that's worth? Then what we're going to do is we've got the MBA thing, right? So you've got to look into a little bit of the GMAT and like take a look at the topics. How are you academically and with tests, Kathy?
Pretty good.
Okay. So like take a look at the GMAT topics. And then what we're going to do is on the business side, are there particular certifications that you can get there? What do they cost and what's the ROI? So this is the money that you're going to make. This is the money that it's going to cost. And maybe she doesn't need an MBA. As an example, if you're in finance, you can go get an MBA or you can get something called a CFA. CFA is like a series of 3 exams. And like, if you do well on those exams, you're able to like do a lot more stuff. And then what is the ROI on the MBA? So for people who are in customer support and like at your level and go get an MBA, can you go hunt someone down on LinkedIn, look at like what their job title is, and then go to Glassdoor and look at what the average salary is? Or can you talk to people? Because I think this is a situation where we could talk about feelings as much as we want to, but Kathy is pragmatic. And what we're going to help her do is think through some of these decisions. And like, we're absolutely, if y'all want to, we're going to do this for Metric. If y'all want to, we're going to do this for Ruby. And if y'all want to, we're going to do this for Zell. Now, it's going to be different for them, because I don't think Ruby wants to Google ROI at all.
I'm sat here like that guy with the fireworks gif. and I'm that gif, and I'm the woman with the maths things going in front of her. I'm both those gifs right now.
Okay, so which is fine. So we're gonna tailor this to what Ruby cares about. So like, we're gonna ask her weird questions like, Ruby, is sound baths or yoga more spiritually fulfilling? Which one aligns your chakras more? Like, we could ask her that. But we're still going to break things down for her and help her prioritize. But in the value system that matters to her. Okay? So this stuff, now the question kind of becomes, we're going to turn things over to Kathy. Kathy, I think you've done a lot of this in your head, actually. But I think the problem is that it's hard to decide if the MBA is worth it until you have the comparisons of the ROI of each path. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's not just is it worth it or not? It's like, okay, let's look at alternatives and help you make an informed decision. I'll let y'all in on a little secret. At the end of the day, you're going to do all this stuff and you may not get an answer. Then you're just going to go with your gut anyway, which is totally fine. You
flip a coin.
Yep. That's probably what it's going to end up happening. But now what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn things over to Kathy for a second. And Kathy, we need your help in deciding which of this stuff you want our help with and what you want to do. And we can have a conversation about this, or you can think about this on your own. This kind of stuff you're going to have to do on your own if you want to. And these are the 4 buckets that I would do. So like, what do you feel like? What are you feeling like? And I acknowledge you've been flying back and forth and giving eulogies and stuff like that, so you don't even have to decide today. But what do you think about, if we had to say this is bucket number 1, bucket number 2, how do you feel about a plan of like over the next 5 weeks looking into these 5 things?
Yeah, I can chart it out. I've been kind of doing that already.
Not surprised. And what do you think out of these things? Like, my sense is that we may be able to help you with number 1 more so than what you can do by yourself. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so.
Do you want to do some kind of introspective work and report back to us about number one, or do you want to do for your homework for the week? Do you want to do 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, or 5?
I think number one is important because I know we talk a lot about money, but at this point, I feel like I'm so lucky to be making the amount of money that I do right now. I'm just like, I didn't think I'd make this much of a salary. So at this point, I'm like, okay, what am I passionate about? What do I like? What am I gonna wake up to every single day? So I haven't really been considering ROIs really, except for paying for the whole MBA. But so yeah, I've been just trying to figure out if I want to go the tech or business route. So like I've been like talking to people for their insights and whatnot, but I feel like I may come to a decision soon.
Okay. Is that something that you want to continue doing internally, or would you like us to continue talking about that?
We can talk it out another
Okay.
time.
Can we give you some homework around this so that we can sort of like make the most of our discussions?
Yeah, we can do that.
So I want you to think about the challenges that you find enjoyable in your previous jobs. And I want you to think about whether a technical route or a business route is more aligned with the challenges that you enjoy solving. Right? So like if you think about like let's try to find a pattern to what did you like and dislike about your first customer service job at Minecraft? What did you like and dislike about you keep on talking about bigger picture. The question is, what did you like? What intrigued you about the bigger picture? And is it more gratifying to solve that bigger picture using a technical solution? Or is it like more of like like you really want to see more and more of the bigger picture, and you want to understand marketing, and you want to understand finance, and you want to understand like all these different pieces of the puzzle? Or do you really like to solve a particular challenge?
Oof. It's
Yep.
hard to decide.
So you're not going to make
it that way.
You're not going to make a decision. You're going to think about the challenges and what you care about, and then we're going to talk to you. And before you realize it, you'll know. But it's not a decision you're going to make. Don't worry about that. That's the problem, that you can't make the decision. So we're going to help you understand yourself a little bit. Does that make sense?
Okay. It does.
So just think about, okay, what's one challenge I liked at my first Minecraft job, second Minecraft job, third Minecraft job? What are the challenges that I enjoy? What gets me excited about the work that I do? And what kind of skill set do I want? Do I want to be able to like technically, do I want to solve this problem? Or what I really enjoy, like understanding all of these dimensions of the job? HR management, finance, managing payroll, managing budgets, developing project, like just think about that kind of stuff. Okay? Now, for the rest of y'all, is there something about this stuff that you feel like resonates with you that you could somewhat adapt?
Yeah, actually.
Okay, let's hear it.
So the decision that Kathy's got to make between technical and business, and what you were just explaining. So I have an ambition that I've done that thing again. I've decided it's not important, so I've not told you. That I want to build a business, and I know I have the potential right now, and I have an audience to build a business. I love Twitch, but I also feel like my energy could be spent. And you're like, Ruby doesn't care about ROI. I'm like, I feel like, yeah, I do in a way, because my energy could be spent in better places and hit the right people. I want to take the things that I've learned and I want to apply them to something, and build an online business, maybe with the move to Portugal when I finish fixing up the property into more of a retreat type space, maybe hold in like real life kind of spaces. I'm very aware in the spiritual world of snake oil and vulnerable people, and I want to create a healthy space for people to, learn things like meditation and explore things like yoga without being preyed upon, and, feeling safe. And yeah, the ROI part of it is I want to be putting my energy into the right places and how I go about that. And I would like that to be my main thing, because I think it'll feel more fulfilling than Twitch sometimes. Because as much as I love Twitch, it is like opening my door to everyone, and they get me for free, and they get to come in and say stupid stuff. And like, I love my community. They say amazing things to me every day, but you still have to deal with all of the other stuff as well that comes with it. I want to create a space that's a community space where people are investing in their own well-being and want to be there. Not saying that my community don't want to be there on Twitch, but you will get what I mean. You will stream. You will know that, yeah.
So, first of all, who expected Ruby to say something like that after week 1?
Not me.
Right? And like, this is like strong work. So something about this discussion, something about hearing about Kathy's like pragmatic Kathy, who's like moving up the ladder. I think what I'm detecting is some degree of inspiration on Ruby's part. Like, she's been inspired. She's like, actually, I care about ROI too. How dare you judge me for not caring about ROI?
I think it's something I've had my whole life, is that people always think I'm very whimsical, and I've had like, is it the pixie dream girl, whatever
You're like
type
dancing in a
trope?
field or something like
Yeah,
that.
I've had that my whole life, and really like, I am quite business minded, because I wouldn't have got where I am. And I was sitting here thinking, like, whilst everyone was talking, I've been hired by like Twitch to do their marketing campaigns and speak to companies. I've done like presentations to companies, like big companies. I'm not allowed, I can't tell you who they are. And that I do have a business head in there, but for some reason, like, that all gets lost underneath like things like buying a harp and never playing it, and like sticking flowers around my room, and deciding to dress as an elf for the day. So yeah.
Yeah, so this is our responsibility. We're not gonna let Ruby keep on wasting her energy with random shit. Okay? So Ruby, your homework, this is gonna be kind of weird. You need to vomit on a page. Not literally, but all those ideas that you have, we need to start sifting through them and decide, now that we know that you maybe want to be an entrepreneur, or you maybe already are an entrepreneur, we also recognize that you have some real, not that you don't have real skills as a streamer, but that you can actually pitch, and you can potentially do like corporate consulting or like whatever. Like, we know all that stuff. I applaud you for being honest about sharing your ambitions with us. But I think what we need from you, and I don't know that we'll actually get it best in a conversation, is just all the crap that you're thinking about needs to be put on a page. And you can put whatever you want to. If people feel comfortable with it, I want Ruby to actually make a document and upload it to our group chat. And now this is where we have to decide as a group what our commitment to homework is. So thus far, it's been, hey, it's kind of like, do it if you want or do it if you don't want, which is totally fine because life happens. I'm not saying that we need to do more, but this is the stage at which, like, if we really like, this is going to take 50 weeks if we only do the work during these 90 minutes. If we really want to if we want to accelerate the pace, people need to start doing homework and reading homework. And it's not everyone every week. But this is the kind of thing where it's like, if Kathy really takes this discussion and thinks it through and comes back, we're going to move way faster. So Ruby, if you're willing to try doing that, and then what I want is at least like 2 people who we can commit to reviewing what Ruby does. So can we get 2 volunteers that will do it if Ruby submits it?
I'm on it.
Sure.
Okay.
Thank you. That's going to be really easy. I've got notepad after notepad. I just write things down all the time, or my brain might explode.
Okay. So I want you to take those. So if you've already got streams of consciousness, try to put something together that Zell and Metric can really like look at.
Understand.
Right? So if you've already vomited on a page, I want you to take that and turn it into some kind of artwork. Like try to organize it as much as you can and just the different ideas that you could pursue. And they're going to at least take a look at it before next week. So reasonably speaking, we want to give them like at least, I'd say 48 hours. So you need to have it in probably by Monday night, Ruby.
Mm-hmm.
Does that sound okay? Or do y'all need
Yeah.
more time?
No, it's good. I've got a free weekend.
Well, I'm talking Metric and Zell though. Can y'all do it
I'm
on?
good. Yeah.
Okay. For Metric and Zell, I don't know if I have specific homework for you. I suspect Zell is going to take this away on his own. Zell, do you feel like you've got something that you can work on over the next week? Or do you need some direction?
I think I would like a little bit of direction, mainly because when I think through this process, I think where I'm at right now is like I haven't really even narrowed down like the way Kathy has narrowed down things to like technical or business or whatever. Like for me, I feel like I'm still in the moment of trying to figure out what that looks like for me, like narrowing
Okay.
down.
So Zell, here's what I want you to do, and I will write I will read this if you write it. Okay, so I'm happy to be one of the volunteers in this case. And that's not because I love you more than I love Ruby or Kathy. It's just I think that just where you are and what you need, I think I have more. I can help you a little bit more there. But in your case, Zell, remember what you're discovering is actually quite different, which is like you've just figured out that you need to figure out what you want and that can be discovered internally as opposed to following a script from someone else. So what I want you to do is so you've always like always is a strong word, but you've always followed what is pragmatic. And I want you to write 1 page about a decision that you made that was good on paper, but was bad. It didn't feel right because you have some awareness of that now, right? And I want you to write about a decision that you made that felt right and you're really like happy and proud of and was internally fulfilling. If that resonates with you, we can run with that. I don't want to open the can of worms of relationships quite yet. We'll get there. But that's what I would really like help us understand what this leans on is this principle called positive deviance. So everyone thinks we need to figure out what the right solution is. There's an interesting principle from science, which is that you don't need to figure out the right answer. The right answer is actually already available in the data. Because Zell has done things that are internally fulfilling before, and he's done things that are not internally fulfilling. And all we need to do is help him understand why were the right decisions right and why were the wrong decisions wrong. And then we can already figure out like what kind of compass he needs to use. Does that make sense?
Yeah, could you reiterate what so like write about a decision that I made that was good on paper but unfulfilling in practice?
And
Okay.
write a decision that you made that was fulfilling. And what about the situation was unfulfilling and what about the situation was fulfilling? Like why was that fulfilling for you? Why was it unfulfilling for you? Even if it was prestigious and you were happy with the money and you were very famous and you were doing this collab and that collab, what about it felt unfulfilling and what about something else felt fulfilling? So it's almost like what is the nature of fulfillment or unfulfillment in terms of your experience?
Okay.
Metric. For you, do you feel up to doing something?
Yeah.
I think so first of all, I think I applaud you for making the realization that like, okay, I think I want to find some kind of job in the gaming industry. Mm-hmm. And what I want you to realize is that you've got an awesome group of people here. So your job is going to be, I also get the sense you're a little bit early in the process, which hopefully no one is judging, including yourself. But what I want to really think about is how can we use the expertise of the other people in this call to help you figure out how you're going to make that transition.
Like making my LinkedIn really pretty and like having, pretty cover letters and
Yeah, so some of
like
this
that.
is going to be kind of internal work, but it's almost like I want you to think about what do you need, or so imagine you can call on each of these people once. They're a one-time consumable summon that
Okay.
you can summon to help you. How are you going to use each and every one of them? So you've got to figure out what are the things that you can handle on your own. And when it comes to, Kathy says, I used my streaming and gaming experience in my interviews. So we're going to like summon her for like that advantage.
Okay.
Like Zell has worked at Riot, so we're going to summon him for that advantage. Ruby is thinking about, or is an entrepreneur of sorts, has done corporate kind of weird stuff with companies that's all under NDA. Totally fine. But like, she comes across as like passionate and driven and like dancing around in the field, but she's actually like a beast when it
Right.
comes to like talking to companies. So like, we don't know exactly when we're going to use that summon, but taking some weird, like spiritual fulfilling, like Darkest Dungeon HR kind of like ruthlessness, like we can call her in at some point. So in your case,
Oh.
I would really start by thinking about, okay, like what kind of job do you want? Is it in the gaming industry? Is it not in the gaming industry? What are all the steps that you can think of? And recognize that there are a couple of those steps, like Kathy is a LinkedIn stalker, so she knows what good LinkedIn profiles are like and what good LinkedIn profiles are not like. And so you're right that you need to do that. So like, let's just think a little bit about, okay, what kind of job do you want? Is it in the industry? Is it not in the industry? And what would you enjoy doing? And then like think about as many steps as you can.
Okay.
Okay. And then can we get a volunteer to look at metrics output?
I can look at that.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. I was teeing you up for it. I don't know if you felt the pressure. But honestly, Kathy, I think that you're going to be able to help Metric a lot there, like with where he is. Okay? So strong work, everyone. I know that things are different from where we started, but that's what group is about. Like, it's great that we're... Yeah.
I have one question.
Yeah.
So, sometimes when we talk about the future, you mention more sessions, but also I think next week is our last session. So, are we extending or are we? What is happening?
That's a great question.
Okay.
What do y'all want to do? I completely forgot about that.
I thought you were gonna cram everything in next week, so I was like, okay.
Yeah, like it's been a little like the last couple weeks have been sort of ambiguous as to like how much longer we're doing this and whether or not we were extending it or whatever. And I'm totally happy to keep going because like I feel like just last week I got the tools to be like, hey, you can actually do stuff for yourself and not feel bad about it. And now I actually want to do stuff for myself. So
Yeah,
like I don't imagine that's just going to be just as easy, right? Like, so I don't know.
So
That's right.
I feel like metric as well. Like I feel like we've all just kind of hit a point where like we kind of felt our own turning points.
Yeah. So if y'all are game, we're going to keep going. So let's try to give it one more month. I know this is actually the 12th week since we started, but this is only session number 9. So I think we, because we took a couple weeks off and stuff, but I think we should go for 4 more sessions because I'm with you that usually it takes about 8 weeks to start seeing change. And then that actually gets solidified over 12 to 16 weeks. So y'all
really
are actually
appreciate
exactly on track, which is like, the first 8 weeks, it's like we got to figure out who we are. And then it's like, now that we know who we are, it's not just like self-discovery and then dancing in fields.
Right.
I mean, for some people, that's okay. But for me, it's like we're going to leverage our understanding. And I want y'all to walk away from this experience. Like, it's great that Metric had a profound realization last week. That's great. We can call that a W. But now it's like, this fucker's got to get a job somewhere. Right? And I think even though that's related, now he realizes maybe he can bring something to the table. And so that's going to change the way that he negotiates. It's going to change the way that he applies. It's going to change the way that he thinks about himself. So, like, let's help him get there. Kathy's ambitious. The first time she hasn't gotten promoted in a year. Right? And she's like, oh, like, you can't get promoted every year. Fuck that. Kathy, we're going to help you. Right? And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. Ruby here, dancing in fields, is actually an entrepreneur. And we're going to help her take the best part of herself, which is that she's committed to making communities and helping people. And like, she recognizes there are snake oil salesmen out there. Right? and we're going to help her like make the world a better place and like not have to worry about paying rent at the same time. And Zell, my dude, has an offer in hand, because he's a Chad when it comes to, like, you know, this kind of stuff. But he has no idea if he even wants it. Right? And so he's had opportunities and he's taken them because they're the right thing. And so we're going to help him figure out if this is the right offer, or should he wait for another one, or what he wants. Or, like, even if he takes it, like, is it fulfilling? He's going to go into this job, even if he takes it, with a different kind of attitude and mindset. Is this right for me? And he's right that a job isn't right, or whether a job is right for you depends on the job and depends on you. I know. Sound good? All right, so I would say we need about 4 more sessions. Okay. So that may not be the next 4, because American Thanksgiving and stuff is coming around, and people may have additional kinds of things, but I'm really glad that Metric brought it up. I think we're just getting started. Sound good?
Sounds good.
Strong work, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.
You too.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye.
Okay, we got to run. I have a meeting in like 2 minutes, and it's so dark. Okay, so who do we want to raid? Or actually, Kathy said she was streaming, right? Let me actually just ask her real quick. Does that make sense, folks? I think this is so this is important to understand. Like, you know, feelings and stuff is great, don't get me wrong. But at the end of the day, like, why do we want to understand our feelings? We want to understand our feelings because they help us make good decisions in life, right? So feelings is not the goal. It's like the foundation. And then what we want to do is leverage our understanding of ourselves, whether it be our cognitive process or, you know, like, whether it's our cognitive process, whether it's emotional awareness, whether it's our values, to help us develop a plan so that we can start building a life that we're actually like very fulfilled in, that we don't have to worry about finances. We feel fulfilled on a daily basis. We're doing work that we want to do. We're challenging ourselves. We're making the world a better place. So understand yourself so that you can craft a life that's worth living. We're raiding Joe. Let's see if she. Okay, so I'm gonna let's see. Okay, so Zerg. Girl. Hold on. Oh, okay. Metric is okay. We can raid Metric. All right. Okay. I can't find him. This is the same thing that's happening. Okay, we're gonna okay, let's raid Mitch because he's popping up and I can't find Metric. Okay. Okay, we're gonna raid Mitch Jones. And he's playing some WoW. So we'll see y'all. Okay.